Often the titles of bills before the legislature don't really represent what the bill stands for. The title of this bill should say, Ukraine First, America Last, because that's what this is really about. Now, bills in the legislature, bills that come before the Senate, don't have pictures or covers on them like a book would have or a magazine. But if this bill had an image or a cover on the front of the bill, the image would be the migrant in New York who assaulted a police officer, was freed from jail on no bail, and gave the middle finger of both hands to America. That's what this bill is. It's the middle finger to America. This bill is the middle finger to every working man and woman in America, every struggling American family. This bill gives them the middle finger and says, we don't care about you. We care more about Ukraine than we care about our southern border. We don't seem to care, or these Ukraine firsters don't seem to care about the crime that's happening. They don't seem to care about the assault of a police officer in New York. They're intent on more coming in. Just that one image of that man, that migrant, that illegal immigrant who came across the border and decided to assault with a whole group of other thugs to assault a police officer in New York, just that image alone ought to be enough for us to say enough's enough. Enough's enough. We really have to control our border. Guess what? From now on, the only people who come to America are legal immigrants. But this bill ignores the southern border. Almost 1 million people came over the border in the last 3 months. Almost 1 million people. And the Ukraine firsters are saying, we don't care about the southern border. We care about Ukraine first. And so the picture, the image that every American should have when they see all of these billions of dollars, $60 billion being shoveled out the door, being loaded on the plane, as you see these smiling politicians gleefully dropping off the pallets of cash over there, every American should remember the image of the young man giving America the bird after he assaulted a police officer. That's the image of this bill. That's the image of the Ukraine firsters, and nobody should forget about it. When we look at the problems that we face, we need to be fully aware that there is no pot of money. There is no surplus funds. There is no money to give to Ukraine. We don't have enough money to pay our bills. We do not have enough money to pay for we budget every year. In fact, the entire budget that Congress votes on is borrowed. Let me make that very clear. The entire budget, not a little bit of it, not half of it, the entire budget is borrowed. This would be like someone saying, well, yeah, I don't have any money for rent and I don't have a job. I'm going to borrow the money for my rent. That's essentially where we are. 2/3 of spending up here is entitlements. All of the tax revenue from every source that comes into the federal government is only enough to pay for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and food stamps. Everything else is borrowed. And we don't vote on the entitlements. The entitlements are on autopilot. What do we vote on? We vote on what is military discretionary and non-military discretionary, $1.5 trillion. So people talk about, what is $1 trillion? Well, we're running a $1.5 trillion deficit in 1 year. So in 2 years, $3 trillion is accumulated. How much is $1 trillion? How much is $3 trillion? If you take trillion in $1 bills and you stack them up, $3 trillion would reach to the moon. 240,000 miles high would be the stack of $1 bills. That's what we borrow in a 2-year period. But it's accelerating. Just in the last week, the Federal Reserve Chairman said the debt problem is urgent. Jamie Dimon, head of one of the big banks, Chase Morgan, says the problem is urgent. Some of the economists and authors who wrote about the collapse in 2008 that predicted it coming have said The debt is an urgent problem. So how does the Senate respond to some of the keenest minds in the country saying that we have a debt crisis? They respond by sending $100 billion of your money overseas. And it's not money we've got on hand. It's not cash on hand. We don't have any money. We are flat broke. People say it's for our national defense. We have these cold warriors who still believe in the domino theory. They say, we are going to somehow be overrun by communists if we don't do this. But we have no money. There is no money to be sent over there. It all has to be borrowed. The title of this bill should be Ukraine First, America Last, if they were being honest. 61% of Americans work paycheck to paycheck. 8 out of 10 Americans who make $50,000 don't have enough money on hand to pay their bills. If something goes wrong for them, you think they're excited about having their tax dollars shipped off to Ukraine? Ukraine first, America last. That's what this bill is about. It's about giving the middle finger to America. It's about giving the middle finger to every working class man and woman in America. It is an insult. It should be rejected. It should be soundly rejected. And we should get back to the business of this country, which is protecting our borders. We've got a real problem. Democrats didn't even seem to think there was a border problem till a few hundred of them were shipped to New York, and all of a sudden they think there's a problem now. So they put them up in a fancy hotel and they spend millions of dollars coddling them. But mark my words, the American people are smarter than the elitists up here. The title of this bill is, and ought to be, if they were honest, America First, or Ukraine First, and America Last. That's what the authors should have called this bill. I reserve the balance of my time. How much time do I have remaining?
Senator has 1 minute remaining.
Thank you.